The alarm bells rang through the Kepler station at 3 in the morning. Dr. Sarah Chen rushed from her quarters, her dark hair still messy from sleep. She ran through the metal corridors of the space station that orbited Earth, her heart pounding. Something had gone wrong with the experiment. When she reached the laboratory, her team was already there. The main chamber glowed with a strange blue light that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. Inside the chamber, the quantum reactor hummed with energy that shouldn't exist. The readings on the screens showed numbers that made no sense. What happened? Sarah asked, staring at the impossible data. Marcus Webb, her assistant, looked pale. His hand shook as he pointed at the screens. We were running the standard neural interface test, just mapping brain patterns like always. But then something changed. The reactor started pulling energy from nowhere. It's not from the fuel cells. It's not from the station's power. It's just appearing. Sarah moved closer to the screens. The energy output was incredible. It was 10 times more powerful than their best nuclear reactors. But the source readings showed nothing. The energy was coming from empty space itself. Show me the exact moment it started, she said. Marcus played back the recording. The test subject, a volunteer named David Park, had been wearing the neural interface helmet. The device was designed to read brainwaves and translate them into commands for machines. Simple technology that humanity had used for decades. But in the recording, something different happened. David's brainwaves had synchronized with the quantum field in a pattern they had never seen before. For just 3 seconds, his neural activity had matched a specific frequency. In those 3 seconds, the reactor had tapped into something fundamental, something that existed beneath reality itself. Run it again, Sarah ordered. Wake up, David, we need to test this. 2 hours later, David sat in the chamber again. He was a young man, barely 25, who had volunteered for the experiments to pay for college. Now he looked nervous as the team prepared for the second test. Just relax like before, Sarah told him through the intercom. Think about the same things you were thinking about. Try to remember that exact feeling. David closed his eyes. The neural interface activated. The team watched the screens, barely breathing. Nothing happened for 5 minutes. Then 10. Sarah was about to call off the test when suddenly the reading spiked. The blue light appeared again. The reactor's output jumped to incredible levels. David's brainwaves had hit that same strange pattern, but this time something else happened. The air around David began to shimmer. Small objects in the chamber started to float. A pen lifted off the table. A cup of water rose into the air. The laws of physics seemed to bend around him. David opened his eyes and gasped. The moment his concentration broke, everything fell. The energy reading dropped to 0. The blue light vanished. Sarah stared at the data. Her hands trembled as she realized what they had discovered. Humans could tap into the zero-point field. The quantum foam that existed beneath all reality, the endless ocean of energy that filled empty space, and they could do it with nothing but their minds. Over the next week, the team ran more tests. They discovered that the ability wasn't unique to David. Every human they tested could do it, though some were better than others. The key was a specific pattern of neural activity, a rhythm in the brain that matched the frequency of quantum fluctuations. When humans concentrated in just the right way, they could reach down into reality itself and pull out energy. They could manipulate fundamental forces, bend space, alter probability. It was like they had unlocked a door that had always been there, waiting for someone to find the key. Sarah knew they had to report this to Earth's government. The discovery was too important to keep secret, but she also knew what would happen next. Earth had joined the Galactic Council only 5 years ago. Humanity was the newest species in a galaxy full of ancient civilizations. They were watched constantly by council observers who made sure humans followed all the rules. And there were many rules about energy and weapons and technology. The council controlled everything. They decided what each species could research, what ships they could build, what worlds they could settle. Humanity had accepted these limits to gain access to faster-than-light travel and galactic trade. But this discovery changed everything. This power came from within humans themselves. It wasn't technology the council could regulate. It was biology, evolution, something fundamental to what humans were. Commander James Rodriguez arrived at the station the next day. He was a military officer, tall and serious, with gray hair and sharp eyes. He had been assigned as the liaison between Sarah's research team and Earth's defense forces. "Show me," he said simply. Sarah showed him everything. The recordings, the data, the successful tests with 12 different volunteers. James watched in silence, his face unreadable. Finally, he spoke. The council can never know about this. We have to report it, Sarah argued. They have observers everywhere. Ambassador T-Vex visits this station every month. The council has quantum sensors that can detect unusual energy signatures. They'll find out eventually. Then we have a problem, James said, because the council won't let us keep this power. You know how they are. They control everything. They'll call it dangerous. They'll demand we stop all research. Or worse. Sarah wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. She had seen how the council treated species that stepped out of line. The Kryn had developed advanced artificial intelligence against council law. Their homeworld was now under permanent quarantine. The Velic had tried to colonize a forbidden system. Their entire fleet had been destroyed. The council maintained order through fear. They claimed it was for the good of all species, to prevent wars and disasters. But Sarah had always wondered if it was really about control, about keeping the old species on top and the young species dependent. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the implications. This power could change everything for humanity. They could generate unlimited clean energy, defend themselves against any threat, travel between stars without expensive ships. Humanity could finally stand as equals in the galaxy instead of being treated like children. But it could also start a war. If the council felt threatened, they would act. Earth had no chance against the combined fleets of 1,000 worlds. At dawn, her computer chimed with an urgent message. It was from the council monitoring station in orbit. Ambassador T-Vex wanted to visit the Kepler station immediately. He had detected unusual quantum fluctuations. He had questions. Sarah's blood ran cold. They were out of time. The council already knew something was wrong. Now humanity had to make a choice. Tell the truth and face the consequences. Or lie and hope they could hide the greatest discovery in human history. She called an emergency meeting with her team and Commander Rodriguez. They had 3 hours before T-Vex arrived. 3 hours to decide the fate of their species. The countdown had begun. Ambassador T-Vex stood in the Kepler station's observation room, his reptilian eyes fixed on the data screens. His scales were deep green, and they flickered with color changes that showed his emotional state. Right now they pulsed with orange streaks, concern, suspicion. These energy readings are unlike anything in our database, he said, his voice a soft hiss. Dr. Chen, you must tell me what you discovered. Sarah had decided to tell him a partial truth. We were testing new neural interface technology. We accidentally tapped into zero-point energy. It was completely unexpected. T-Vex's scales flashed bright orange, almost red. Fear. Zero-point manipulation? Through biological means? Yes, it seems human neural patterns can access quantum fields in ways we didn't know were possible. The ambassador was silent for a long moment. His clawed hand trembled slightly as he reached for his communication device. I must report this to the council immediately. By law, all discoveries of this nature must be reviewed. After T-Vex left, Sarah felt a knot of dread in her stomach. She had seen his reaction. Whatever the council knew about this kind of power, it frightened them. 3 days later, T-Vex returned to Earth orbit aboard a council warship. He carried an official summons. Sarah, Commander Rodriguez, and Earth's Council Ambassador Liu Wei were ordered to appear before the High Council at Citadel Station immediately. The journey through hyperspace took 6 hours. Sarah had never been to Citadel Station before. When their ship emerged from the jump, she gasped. The station was enormous, a ring of metal and crystal that orbited a neutron star. It was beautiful and terrifying at once, glowing with the captured energy of the dead star's radiation. Inside, the council chamber was even more impressive. It was a massive spherical room where representatives from 1,000 different species gathered. Some were humanoid. Others were completely alien. She saw beings made of living crystal, floating energy clouds, and creatures that existed in multiple dimensions at once. At the center of the chamber floated High Chancellor Vorthak. He was one of the eldest, a crystalline being that was over 50,000 years old. His body was translucent, filled with swirling lights that represented his thoughts. When he spoke, his voice resonated in everyone's mind rather than through air. The human delegation may approach. Vorthak's mental voice boomed. Sarah, James and Ambassador Liu walked to the center platform. All around them, thousands of alien eyes watched. The weight of their attention was crushing. Humanity has discovered something forbidden, Vorthak began. The ability to manipulate fundamental reality through biological means. We have detected this energy signature before long ago. It brought death to trillions. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a galaxy, but something was wrong with it. Whole sections of space were twisted and torn. Stars had been ripped apart. Entire systems had been erased from existence. 50 million years ago, there was a civilization called the Architects, Vorthak continued. They evolved the ability to manipulate reality with their minds. At first, they used this power wisely, but power corrupts. Power without limit corrupts absolutely. The Architects began to remake reality itself according to their desires. They fought wars where they deleted their enemies from existence, where they rewrote the laws of physics to gain advantage. The hologram showed more destruction, galaxies colliding, black holes spawning out of control. Reality itself seemed to tear like fabric. The Architects nearly destroyed everything, Vorthak said. All life in the galaxy, all matter, all space and time. Only the combined effort of every other species managed to stop them. We sealed them away in a pocket dimension. We forbade any research into their technology. And we swore that if any species ever evolved similar abilities, they would be stopped before they could repeat the Architects' mistakes. Sarah felt sick. We're not like them. We just discovered this. We haven't hurt anyone. Every species says that, Senator Krizix interjected. She was an insectoid being, all chittering mandibles and compound eyes. Every species believes they will be different, better, more responsible. But power reveals truth, and reality-bending power reveals the darkest truths. Ambassador Liu stepped forward. The Council has no right to punish us for something we haven't done. We've been peaceful members of the galactic community. We've followed every law. This transcends law, Vorthak replied. This is about survival. We have called this emergency session to determine humanity's fate. You have 30 days to surrender all research data. All humans who have manifested this ability must submit to neural suppression protocols. And humanity must accept permanent monitoring to ensure this power never emerges again. Neural suppression? James asked. What does that mean? A new hologram appeared, showing a human brain with certain regions highlighted. A cold, clinical voice explained. The procedures would disable the neural pathways that allow reality manipulation. Subjects would retain basic cognitive function, but would lose creative thinking, abstract reasoning, and the ability to enter meditative states. Estimated 40% reduction in overall intelligence. Sarah felt rage building inside her. You want to lobotomize us. Turn humans into something less. Because you're afraid. We are wise, Vorthak corrected. We have seen what happens when species gain power they cannot control. We will not allow it again. The vote was called. Out of the 1,000 council members, 800 voted for the suppression protocols. 150 abstained. Only 50 voted against. Humanity had no real allies here. Ambassador Liu tried to negotiate. She pleaded. She argued that humanity deserved a chance, that they could prove themselves responsible. But the council wouldn't listen. Fear had made their decision for them. The delegation returned to Earth with the council's ultimatum, 30 days to comply or face forced suppression. The council was already assembling a fleet to enforce their decision. 200 warships from a dozen different species, the largest military force the galaxy had seen in 10,000 years. Earth's government held emergency sessions. Every nation, every leader faced the same terrible choice. Submit to suppression and lose what made humanity special. Become lesser beings, forever controlled by the Council, or refuse and face a war they couldn't possibly win. Sarah returned to Kepler Station. She couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. The weight of what she had discovered crushed her. She had wanted to help humanity. Instead, she had doomed them. But Commander Rodriguez had different ideas. He gathered Sarah and her team in a secure room, shielded from all surveillance. We're not giving up, he said. We have 30 days. We're going to learn everything we can about this power, how it works, what it can do, because when that fleet arrives, we need to be ready. Ready for what? Sarah asked. We can't fight them. They have weapons that can destroy planets. Maybe we can't fight them with ships and missiles, James replied. But we have something they don't. Something they're terrified of. We have 30 days to figure out why. Sarah looked at her team. They were scientists, not soldiers, but they were also human. And humans didn't give up easily. "All right," she said. "Let's get to work." As the countdown began, Sarah made a discovery in the old council databases. There was a message buried deep in the restricted files. It was addressed to humanity, though it had been sent millions of years before humans existed. The message was from the architects, and it said, "To whoever reads this, know that you are our children. You will face fear and hatred, but you are not a mistake. You are the next step. Find us, learn the truth. Don't let them make you less than what you are." Sarah stared at the message. Children? What did that mean? Were humans somehow connected to the ancient architects? Was that why they could manipulate reality? She didn't have answers, but she knew one thing. She wouldn't let the council take away humanity's potential, whatever the cost. Humanity deserved to know what they could become. The vote was unanimous. Every nation on Earth rejected the council's demands. No human would submit to neural suppression. No human would accept becoming less than they were born to be. The decision was broadcast across all channels, translated into 1,000 alien languages and sent to every corner of council space. "We are humanity," Ambassador Liu declared in the transmission. "We will not surrender our minds. We will not surrender our future. If the council wants war, they will have it. But they will learn that humans do not submit to tyrants, no matter how old or powerful." The response was immediate. The council declared Earth in violation of galactic law. The fleet began its journey toward human space. 20 days until they arrived. Sarah Chen barely left the laboratory. Her team worked around the clock, testing the limits of human ability. What they discovered was both amazing and terrifying. When humans focused together, their power multiplied. 2 people working in sync could generate twice the energy. 10 people could bend space itself. 100 people working as one could create effects that seemed like magic. They tested volunteers from around the world. Age didn't matter. Gender didn't matter. Every human had the potential, though some learned faster than others. Children were especially quick to understand the mental patterns needed. Within days, kids as young as 10 could levitate objects and sense quantum fields. But the military applications were what Commander Rodriguez needed. His teams worked with Sarah's researchers to develop practical combat uses. They discovered humans could create shields that warped space-time. Weapons fired at these shields simply curved around them or phased through into other dimensions. The shields took concentration to maintain, but a group of humans working together could protect an entire city. More disturbing were the offensive capabilities. A focused human mind could disrupt electronic systems, collapse the quantum states that held matter together, even reach across vast distances to sense other minds. In theory, a powerful enough group could tear a hole in space-time or create a miniature black hole. Sarah hated this part of the research. She was a scientist, not a weapons designer, but she understood the necessity. When the council fleet arrived, humanity needed to defend itself. "We're creating monsters," she told James one night, "turning ourselves into exactly what the council fears." "No," James replied. "We're creating survivors. The council made this choice, not us. They decided humans were too dangerous to exist as we are. We're just proving them right about the dangerous part." On day 15, something strange happened. Sarah received an encrypted message through channels that shouldn't exist. The communication came from inside Citadel Station itself. From someone on the council, the message was brief. "You're not the first. The architects left something behind. Coordinates follow. Learn why they really disappeared. The truth is not what Vorthak told you." Sarah stared at the coordinates. They pointed to a location deep in unexplored space, far beyond council territory, a region that was marked as forbidden in all star charts. She showed the message to James and Ambassador Liu. They debated whether it was a trap. But what choice did they have? They were already marked for suppression. They had nothing to lose by investigating. A small team was assembled. Sarah insisted on going. James assigned his best pilot and a squad of soldiers. They took humanity's fastest ship, equipped with the new reality-bending shields. The journey took 3 days. When they arrived at the coordinates, they found nothing. Empty space. No planets, no stations. Just void. But when Sarah activated the neural interface and reached out with her mind, she felt something. A massive structure hidden in folded space. It was invisible to normal sensors because it existed partially outside normal reality. "There's something here," she said. "I can feel it. We need to phase the ship to match its quantum signature." It took hours of careful work, but finally the structure appeared. It was enormous. A sphere the size of a moon, made of materials that hurt to look at, surfaces that existed in too many dimensions, angles that shouldn't be possible. "What is this?" the pilot whispered. "An architect facility," Sarah breathed. "This is what they left behind." The team suited up and entered through an airlock that opened at Sarah's mental command. Inside, the structure was even stranger. Corridors that looped back on themselves. Rooms that were bigger on the inside than the outside. Gravity that pointed in impossible directions. They found a central chamber. In the middle floated a hologram that activated when they approached. It showed a being that looked almost human, but not quite. More refined, more perfect, like humanity's distant cousin. "Greetings, children," the hologram said in perfect English. "If you found this place, then you have evolved as we predicted. You have discovered the gift we left in your genetic code." Sarah's mind reeled. "You made us?" "Not exactly," the architect's image replied. "We found your ancestors millions of years ago, primitive apes on a small blue world. We saw potential in them. We altered their DNA slightly, added certain sequences that would activate when your species reached the right level of development. We gave you the ability to touch reality itself as we could." "Why?" Sarah asked. "Why give us this power?" "Because we were dying out," the architect said. "Not from war or disaster, but from evolution. We were changing, becoming something beyond physical form. We were ascending to a higher state of existence. But we didn't want our legacy to die. We wanted there to be others who could follow the path we discovered. Others who could see the universe as we did." The hologram changed, showing the destruction that Vorthak had displayed in the council chamber. "But from a different perspective. The council believes we destroyed ourselves," the architect continued. "They're wrong. What they saw as destruction was transformation. We weren't fighting wars. We were ascending, breaking free of physical reality. Some of the changes we made to spacetime were violent, yes, but not malicious. We were children learning to walk and accidentally breaking furniture." Sarah felt tears on her face. "So you're not dead? You just evolved beyond us?" "Most of us, yes. We exist now as patterns of consciousness in the quantum foam. We see all of reality at once, past, present, and future. We are the universe experiencing itself. But we remember what we were, and we watch for the children we left behind." "The council wants to suppress us," James said. "They're sending a fleet to force us to give up this power." The architect's expression was sad. "We know, we've been watching. The council is old and afraid. They saw our ascension and misunderstood it. They built their entire civilization on preventing it from happening again. But they cannot stop evolution. They cannot stop the next step." "What do we do?" Sarah asked desperately. "Show them what humans truly are," the architect replied. "Not by destroying them, but by being better than they fear. Show them that power without violence is possible. That evolution doesn't mean destruction. You have 15 days before the fleet arrives. Use that time wisely." The hologram flickered. "We left you gifts here. Technology that will help. Knowledge that will guide you. But the most important gift is truth. You are not mutations, not accidents. You are our children. Our legacy. The next generation of reality engineers. Don't let fear make you less than you are." The image faded. Around the chamber, panels opened revealing databanks filled with architect knowledge. Technologies that made council science look primitive. Medical advances that could extend human life for thousands of years. Ships that could travel between galaxies. And most importantly, training methods for controlling their abilities. Sarah's team spent days downloading everything. When they finally returned to Earth, they carried the complete legacy of the architects. Everything humanity needed to defend itself and more. Commander Rodriguez immediately began distributing the training methods. Across Earth and the human colonies, millions of volunteers began learning to harness their abilities properly. Children taught adults. Artists taught soldiers. Everyone worked together. By day 25, humanity was ready. 10,000 trained humans who could work in perfect synchronization. Millions more with basic abilities. And the knowledge to use their power without causing the catastrophic damage the Council feared. On day 30, The Council fleet arrived at Earth's doorstep. 200 warships carrying enough firepower to destroy the planet 10 times over. High Chancellor Vorthak himself led the fleet aboard the massive dreadnought Eternal Light. Humanity's answer was broadcast across all channels. Not a surrender, not a plea, but a simple statement. We are ready. The Council fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. 200 warships arranged in a sphere around Earth. Their weapons were charged and ready. Their shields glowed with deadly energy. From the flagship Eternal Light, High Chancellor Vorthak sent a final ultimatum. Humanity has 1 hour to surrender all research and submit to neural suppression. Failure to comply will result in forced intervention. We do not wish to harm you, but we will do what must be done to protect the galaxy. On Earth, billions of people watch the skies. In cities across the planet, humans gathered in designated locations. Children held their parents' hands. Elderly couples stood together. Strangers linked arms with strangers, all of them connected by a single purpose. In the command center beneath Geneva, Sarah Chen stood before a massive display showing the fleet's positions. Commander Rodriguez was beside her, along with Ambassador Liu and representatives from every nation on Earth. They all wore neural interface, headbands that connected them to the global network. 10,000 primary participants are in position, James reported. Another 5 million secondary supporters are synchronized. We're ready when you are, Doctor. Sarah took a deep breath. Her hands trembled slightly as she activated her headband. Around the world, 10,000 highly trained humans did the same. They closed their eyes and reached out with their minds, finding each other across thousands of miles. Their thoughts merged into a single unified consciousness. Sarah felt them all. Their hopes, their fears, their determination. They were one mind in 10,000 bodies, and through them, she could feel millions more lending their strength. The combined mental power of humanity focused on a single task. Initiate Project Ascension, she said quietly. Around Earth, the air began to shimmer. Reality itself seemed to ripple like water. The effects spread outward from the planet in a perfect sphere, expanding at the speed of thought. On the Council ships, alarms blared. Sensors detected energy readings that shattered their scales. Every instrument went haywire trying to measure what was happening. Vorthak stared at his displays in horror. Impossible. The quantum field is destabilizing. All ships prepare for reality disruption. But humanity wasn't disrupting reality. They were shaping it. The sphere of influence expanded until it encompassed the entire fleet. 200 warships suddenly found themselves trapped inside a bubble of altered space-time. Inside the bubble, time moved differently. Weapons that were fired simply froze mid-flight, their energy suspended in stasis. Missiles hung in space like decorations. Energy beams curved back on themselves harmlessly. The Council ships tried to retreat, but their engines couldn't push them through the bubble's edge. They were trapped in a demonstration of power that made their own weapons look like children's toys. Then Sarah did something even more incredible. She reached out through the quantum field and touched the minds of every being in the fleet, not to harm them, not to control them, but to communicate, to show them the truth. In an instant, every Council soldier, every captain, every crew member experienced the same vision. They saw Earth's history. They saw humans evolving from apes. They saw the hidden architect markers in human DNA. They saw Sarah's team discover their abilities by accident. They saw the message from the architects explaining the truth. They saw that humanity didn't ask for this power, didn't seek it out. It was simply who they were, what they were meant to become. And most importantly, they saw humanity's choice, the decision to use this power for defense, not conquest, to protect, not destroy, to reach out to the galaxy with open hands instead of clenched fists. The vision ended. Across the fleet, soldiers and officers stood in stunned silence. On the Eternal Light, Vorthak's crystalline body flickered with colors that showed his confusion and fear. He had felt the vision too, had seen the truth about the architects, about humanity's origins, about everything the Council had misunderstood. Sarah's voice echoed through every ship simultaneously, transmitted through quantum entanglement. We don't want war, High Chancellor. We want to live, to grow, to become what we were meant to be. The architects didn't destroy themselves. They evolved. They ascended to something greater, and they left us as their legacy. You could destroy us right now, Vorthak replied, his mental voice shaking. You have us trapped, helpless, why don't you strike? Because that's not who we are, Sarah answered. You feared we would become monsters. We're proving you wrong. Around Earth, the 10,000 primary participants began the second phase of the demonstration. They reached out further, beyond the fleet, beyond the solar system. Their combined consciousness touched the quantum field across light years of space. On Citadel Station, sensors detected the impossible. On council worlds across the galaxy, scientists watched in awe. On warships and colonies and space stations, beings of 1,000 different species felt a gentle touch on their minds. Humanity was sending a message to the entire galaxy. Not through radio waves or hyperspace channels, but directly through the fabric of reality itself. A message that couldn't be blocked or intercepted. A message every conscious being could feel. The message was simple. It showed what humans had discovered, what they could do, and what they chose not to do. It showed power restrained, potential controlled, evolution guided by wisdom rather than fear. In the council chamber on Citadel Station, representatives from 1,000 worlds watched the demonstration in silence. The implications were staggering. Humanity had just proved they could reach across the galaxy and touch any mind they wanted. They could communicate instantly across any distance. And if they could touch minds gently, they could presumably do so violently. But they didn't. They chose peace. Senator Kriesix, who had voted for suppression, felt her certainty crumble. Around her, other senators experienced the same crisis of faith. Everything they had believed about the architects, about the dangers of reality manipulation, about the need to control younger species, all of it was being challenged. Back at Earth, Sarah spoke again. We understand your fear, High Chancellor. Fear of power you don't control, fear of change you can't predict. But fear is not wisdom. Fear is not justice. The architects weren't monsters. Neither are we. She paused, and the bubble around the fleet began to change. The frozen weapons started moving again, but in reverse. Missiles flew backward into their launch tubes. Energy beams retracted into their emitters. Everything was restored exactly as it had been before firing. We're returning your weapons, Sarah said. Undamaged. Fully functional. We could have destroyed them. Could have destroyed your entire fleet. But we're not interested in destruction. We're interested in understanding. In cooperation. In building something better than fear. The bubble dissolved. The council ships were free. Their weapons were operational. Time returned to normal. They could attack if they wanted to. They could still carry out their mission to suppress humanity by force. But no one gave that order. On the eternal light, Vorthak stood in silence. His ancient mind processed everything he had witnessed. 50,000 years of life. 40,000 years on the council. And in all that time, he had never seen anything like this. Stand down, he finally commanded. All ships power down weapons. Maintain defensive positions only. Across the fleet, captains obeyed. Some reluctantly, others with obvious relief. The tension that had gripped the solar system began to ease, but not everyone agreed with Vorthak's decision. On several ships, captains loyal to the hardline faction refused the order. A dozen vessels broke formation, their weapons still hot and ready. The High Chancellor has gone soft, Captain Zextar transmitted on a secure channel. Humanity has manipulated him with their mind tricks. We will complete the mission as ordered by the Council. All ships loyal to galactic security. Follow me. We will destroy Earth before they can threaten us further. 12 warships accelerated toward Earth. Their planet-killer weapons began charging. These were bombs that could crack a world's crust and boil its oceans. Weapons meant as a last resort against existential threats. In Geneva, alarms blared. James Rodriguez swore. We've got hostiles breaking formation. They're arming planet killers. Impact in 3 minutes. Sarah felt her heart stop. They had tried peace. They had shown restraint. But some beings couldn't be reasoned with. Some chose fear over understanding. What do we do? Ambassador Liu asked desperately. Sarah closed her eyes. Reached out to the unified human consciousness. Felt the panic. The anger. The urge to strike back, and she made a choice. We show them what we truly are, she said. One more time. But bigger. Around the world, not just 10,000, but 1 million humans joined the network. Volunteers who had been training, who were ready, who understood what needed to be done. As the planet-killer weapons launched toward Earth, reality bent once more. But this time, the effect wasn't limited to the solar system. Across the entire galaxy, every aggressive weapon stopped working. Just for a moment. Just for 60 seconds. But in that minute, every gun jammed. Every missile froze. Every energy weapon failed to fire. On 1,000,000 worlds. In 1,000 fleets. Across all of Council space. Humanity had just demonstrated they could stop all violence everywhere simultaneously. Not permanently. Not as a threat. But as a statement. When the 60 seconds ended, the weapons worked again. But the 12 planet killers heading for Earth were gone. Not destroyed. The galaxy held its breath. For 3 days after the demonstration, there was silence. The Council fleet remained in orbit around Earth but took no action. Council chambers across civilized space held emergency sessions. Debates raged about what to do with humanity. Sarah Chen spent those 3 days in exhaustion. The demonstration had drained her physically and mentally. Using the combined power of 1,000,000 humans had felt like carrying a star in her mind. But it had worked. Humanity had proved they could defend themselves without destroying their attackers. On the 4th day, a message arrived. Not from High Chancellor Vorthak, not from the Council, but from the mysterious source who had sent Sarah the coordinates to the Architect facility. "Meet me at the Galactic Core," the message read. "Come alone. Bring only those you trust completely. The truth you found was only part of the story. There is more, much more." Sarah showed the message to James Rodriguez and Ambassador Liu. They agreed it could be a trap, but they also agreed they had to go. Too much was at stake to ignore any potential information. The journey to the Galactic Core was dangerous. That region of space was filled with black holes, radiation storms, and gravitational chaos. No normal ship could survive there. But humanity's new abilities changed the equation. Sarah and a small team took a modified ship protected by reality-bending shields. The trip took a week. As they approached the coordinates, Sarah felt something impossible. A presence in the quantum field. Not human. Not Council species. Something older. Something that existed partially outside normal space and time. They found a structure hidden in the shadow of a supermassive black hole. It was similar to the Architect facility, but larger, more complex, and very much active. When they docked and entered, Sarah felt the presence grow stronger. They walked through corridors that seemed to exist in multiple timelines at once, rooms where past and future overlapped, until finally they reached a central chamber. Inside, a being waited. It looked almost exactly like the Architect hologram Sarah had seen before, but this wasn't a recording. This was real, living. An actual architect who had never ascended. "My name is Aaron," the being said. "I am the last architect who chose to remain physical. I have waited here for 50 million years watching over our children, waiting for you to evolve enough to understand." Sarah's mind reeled. "You sent me the coordinates. You've been helping us." "Yes," Aaron replied. "I've been watching humanity since you took your first steps as a species. I saw the potential we left in your DNA beginning to activate. I knew the Council would react with fear. I had hoped to guide you more subtly, but events moved faster than I anticipated. Why didn't you reveal yourself before?" James asked, his hand on his weapon, despite knowing how useless it would be. "Because you weren't ready," Aaron said. "Neither was the galaxy. But the crisis forced acceleration. Now we must act quickly. The Council is fracturing. Some factions want to accept humanity. Others still want to suppress you. And a third faction wants something worse." "What could be worse than suppression?" Ambassador Liu asked. Aaron waved his hand and a hologram appeared. It showed Council military forces gathering, but not the same ships that had come to Earth. These were different. Ancient vessels pulled from hidden reserves. Weapons that predated the current Council by millennia. "The Absolute Faction," Aaron explained. "Extremists who believe the only way to prevent another Architect incident is to eliminate any species that shows reality-bending potential. They've been gathering power for centuries, waiting for an excuse to act. Your emergence gave them that excuse. They plan to destroy Earth entirely, and they won't stop with Earth. They'll hunt down every human colony, every human ship. They want genocide." Sarah felt sick. "How many ships do they have?" "Enough," Aaron said grimly. "They've been secretly building an armada for 10,000 years. Over 500 warships equipped with weapons designed specifically to kill reality manipulators. Quantum disruptors that can sever the connection between mind and the zero-point field. Bombs that collapse entire sections of spacetime. They'll deploy in 3 weeks. Then we fight," James said immediately. You can't win through combat, Aaron replied. Not against those weapons. But there is another way. The truth I promised to show you. The real reason the architects ascended. He changed the hologram. It showed the galaxy from millions of years ago. The architects at the height of their civilization. Billions of them spread across thousands of worlds. We didn't ascend because we wanted to, Aaron explained. We ascended because we had to. We discovered something terrible. The universe itself is dying. Sarah stared at the images. What do you mean, dying? Entropy is not just increasing. It's accelerating. The universe is expanding faster than it should. Dark energy is tearing apart the quantum foam that underlies reality. In cosmological terms, we're approaching a crisis point. When the foam completely decays, reality as we know it will cease to exist. Everything will dissolve into quantum chaos. The hologram showed projections, mathematical models. The timeline to universal heat death was shorter than scientists believed. Much shorter. The architects discovered this and panicked, Aaron continued. We tried to find solutions, ways to reinforce reality, to slow entropy. But physical beings, no matter how advanced, couldn't manipulate reality at the necessary scale. So we evolved. We became beings of pure consciousness, able to exist in the quantum foam itself. And from that state, we've been working for 50 million years to stabilize the universe. You're saying the architects aren't gone? Sarah said slowly. They're actively holding reality together. Yes, Aaron confirmed. But we're not enough. The universe is vast. The decay is accelerating. We need more minds. More consciousness working to maintain the structure of space-time. That's why we created you. Why we seeded humanity with the potential to join us. You're not just our children. You're our reinforcements. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. The council doesn't know about this. No, Aaron said. We tried to tell them once. They didn't believe us. Called it a lie to justify our existence. The council has built their entire civilization on preventing ascension, on maintaining physical forms and physical power structures. The truth would undermine everything they are. But if we tell them, Ambassador Liu said, if we show them the evidence, they still won't listen, Aaron interrupted. Not all of them. Fear is more powerful than logic. The absolute faction will use the revelation as proof that reality manipulation is too dangerous. They'll claim humanity wants to ascend and abandon the galaxy like we did. Then what do we do? James demanded. Aaron smiled sadly. You do what humans do best. You improvise. You show the galaxy a third option. Not suppression, not genocide, but evolution with responsibility. You prove that ascension doesn't mean abandonment. He touched the hologram and it changed again, showing a detailed plan, a demonstration even larger than what humanity had already done. The Absolute Faction's fleet will arrive in 3 weeks, Aaron said. But there's something else happening at the same time. An astronomical event. A gamma ray burst from a dying star will sweep across council space. Normally harmless at this distance, but the timing is perfect. You can use your abilities to protect the affected worlds, save billions of lives, and prove that power can be used for good. Sarah studied the plan. It was audacious, insane. It would require coordinating not just millions but potentially billions of humans working in perfect synchronization, the largest demonstration of collective consciousness ever attempted. If we fail, she said, if we lose control of that much power, then the council was right to fear you. Aaron finished. But you won't fail. I've watched humanity for millennia. I've seen your capacity for cooperation when survival is at stake. You're ready. The team returned to Earth with Aaron's information and his plan. Sarah presented it to Earth's leadership and to the waiting council fleet. High Chancellor Vorthak listened carefully, his crystalline body flickering with colors Sarah couldn't interpret. You're asking us to trust you, Vorthak said, to believe that you can handle power on a galactic scale. No, Sarah replied. We're asking you to work with us. Your scientists can verify the data about the gamma ray burst. Your astronomers can confirm the timeline. This isn't about trust. It's about reality. The burst will happen. And when it does, billions of your citizens will die unless someone stops it. Vorthak consulted with his advisors, contacted other council members. The debate raged for 2 days. Finally, he gave his answer. We will allow you to attempt this, he said. But the Absolute Faction will not. They'll see this as their chance to strike while humanity is vulnerable and distracted. You'll be protecting our worlds while fighting for your survival. Then stand with us, James said. If the Council truly wants to move beyond fear, prove it. Defend Earth while we defend the galaxy. It was Vorthak's turn to make a choice. Stand with the old ways or embrace something new. After 50,000 years of existence, he surprised everyone. Very well, he said. The Council fleet will remain at Earth and defend it against the Absolute faction. In return, humanity will protect our worlds from the gamma ray burst. Let us see if cooperation is possible.